Welcome back, strongman, personal finance. Woo-hoo-hoo! Ladies and gentlemen, we got another video from old Jeremy LaFufu. Now, apparently, Jeremy LaFufu has some great advice about when you should or should not hire a tax accountant. So I'm going to react to this video where he gives his stellar genius advice about whether you should employ the services of a CPA. We'll see.
Bit of a different lesson today, okay? This isn't really stock specific. However, this is something that could potentially save you guys a lot of money. It may not mean that much to you watching this right now, but there may come a day when you fit some of these criterias and you're going to be glad you watched this video. Let's put it that way. It kind of seems like, oh, this might be a boring video, but this could be something that might save you guys a lot of headaches down the road. It might save you guys a lot of money down the road, okay? So let's be very clear about this. And we're talking about, should you hire a professional tax accountant to kind of take over all your tax needs? I've always done my own taxes until this year we're basically in. This is my first year I've hired actually a professional firm to
you know he screwed up his taxes.
handle all my taxes. I used to just file on H&R Block or whatever, and that was fine. That was like fine for a long time until we got to levels now that it's like we need to have a professional firm handling all this because there's so much money they can save you because the tax system is complicated. There's a lot of different things that you don't even know about probably unless you're already like a CPA or something like that. There's so many different write-offs. There's so many different things that can save you so much money. We're talking about a lot of these things can either save you thousands or tens of thousands. And so that imagine, you know, if you're investing that money and you're getting gains on that money, imagine if it's just $2,000 a year it's saving you. Then imagine if it's $20,000 a year this is saving you because a lot of times folks are doing their own taxes and sometimes you don't know all the rules, you don't know all the regulations, you don't know all the write-offs, you miss a bunch of stuff, and then you end up having to pay way more than what you should, okay?
That's a good point, LaFufu.
I can just tell you from experience now, it's generally worth your money in certain situations, okay? First thing you gotta ask yourself is, do you make over $100,000 or do you make under $100,000 a year? If you make under $100,000, I personally, unless you're really confused on taxes and you can't even use like an H&R Block software or Intuit TurboTax or something like that, most of the time, like if you're making under $100,000, like do your own taxes because they're hiring a professional firm to do it and they might charge you, anywhere from, let's say $500 to a few thousand depending on your tax needs and whatnot and depending on how much you need them. So, if you're making under $100,000, probably you can just do it on H&R Block or Intuit TurboTax.
That's entirely false. Like he said, most people have no idea how the tax code works, and picking an arbitrary income number means nothing. What if you own several businesses that aren't very profitable? What if you are the beneficiary of a trust or multiple trusts? What if you get a freaking couple K1s every year? The arbitrary $100,000 means nothing. Every single person's tax needs are different. You can never point to a specific income number and say, oh, I do or I don't need a tax accountant. Because if you think that, well, I don't make a lot of money. I mean, I can do this myself. If you have a complex tax situation, you're going to screw it up. And if you get audited, the IRS is going to come after you, probably make you pay more money, and you're going to pay fines and penalties.
Something like that. You probably don't need to actually, hire a firm to handle your taxes. That's just the bottom line, okay? Next question you have to ask yourself is, do you own a business? I can tell you if you own your own business, there's a lot higher likelihood that you should probably use a tax accountant. It's not always 100%. Once again, I've had my own business for several years now, and I did not use a tax accountant until this year, okay? So sometimes, you can still do your own taxes, especially if you're just a sole proprietor. Let's say you're making $30K a year, $50K a year, $70K a year, you own your own business. You could probably still do your own taxes, especially if your business is making under 100K, okay? If your business is making under 100K, you could probably still handle those taxes by yourself, okay? Next thing you gotta...
Well, first of all, how do you know what your business is making if you don't have a tax accountant go through and actually calculate your profit and loss? If you own a freaking business, right off the bat, immediately go talk to a CPA. There is so much involved in businesses. You have no freaking idea. And that's a problem. You have no clue. The tax code is extremely complex. Once again, you cannot use an arbitrary number. Oh, I'm making 100K even though I don't know how to calculate my profit and loss. Because you could save massive amounts of money. My tutoring business, I made $20,000 in gross earnings. And I knew I could take certain deductions because I've studied taxation that saved me hundreds or even thousands of dollars in taxes. Now, think about that. That was only with a 20K revenue business. My YouTube business is probably going to pull another 20K. It's huge. It's huge knowing all the freaking tax codes and all the laws, and it can save you so much freaking money. If you have a business, go talk to a freaking CPA. It doesn't have to be me. Go to anybody. You need to get some kind of advice. This is garbage.
ask yourself, do you have many write-offs? If there's a bunch of write-offs, it might make sense to still hire a professional tax accountant, even if, let's say, you're making 75K a year or 85K a year. So you're not making over 100K, but let's say you got a lot of write-offs and your taxes can maybe get a little complicated. At that stage, I would say it's probably worth it to, spend $500 or $1,000, whatever it costs that tax accountant to handle your taxes for you. Because if you have a bunch of write-offs, guys, sometimes you can forget some, sometimes you might not even know some other things are write-off, and that accountant that might cost you $500 or $1,000 to do your taxes, they might save you $3,000 or $5,000. So they might literally pay for themselves pretty easily, okay?
Well, once again, how do you know what write-offs you can take? I mean, do you have a home office? Do you know about, are you, driving your car around? Are you doing business miles? There's all sorts of write-offs that you might not even freaking know about. So how do you know if you have many write-offs or not? That's why you have to go and talk to a CPA.
To keep in mind there, if you got a lot of write-offs. And then I would say, if you're making over $150,000, you should absolutely, without question, in my opinion, hire a tax accountant. If you're making over $150,000, when you get into those type of brackets, okay, absolutely, you should be hiring a professional tax accountant to handle your taxes. Because I'm just telling you, you're starting to get into amounts of money that they'll probably save you thousands, if not tens of thousands, on so many different write-offs.
That, once again, that's an arbitrary number. If you have a very simple tax situation, you have a W-2, you go to a job and you get paid $200,000 a year, you probably don't need a tax accountant if you just have a W-2. If you have a complex business and you have a bunch of, revenue and expenses coming in and you only make 20K, you should probably go see a CPA, okay? It's all about the complexity of your tax situation. I would recommend the vast majority of people at least do it 1 year and compare that to the previous year to see if it's worth it. And they will probably find stuff for you that you can deduct. That's within the realm of the law. But this right here, he's just pulling random numbers out of his butt. The number doesn't freaking matter. It's all about how complex is your tax situation. Especially that last one. If you have one W-2, I mean, you probably don't need a CPA, okay? But at the end of the day, I would recommend 1 year go and get your taxes done by a CPA, even if you don't make a lot of money. Because then you can kind of really get a feel for how much tax savings you might get. You can talk to them, you can say, hey, what deductions did you find, et cetera, et cetera. That's probably what you should do. But if you have a business, no matter what, get a freaking CPA right off the bat. Because I've seen so many people try to do their own freaking taxes. They screw it up so badly. It's like I look at their books and it's a disaster. It's a complete and utter disaster. And they take their books and they translate that to their tax return. They're going to screw up freaking everything. So please, if you have a business, go talk to a CPA. This guy is an idiot. What a freaking joke. Let's see if he has anything else genius to say.
And things like the tax code is complicated, and there's just a lot of things that you and I, the normal individuals, unless you are keeping up with this stuff every day, that you just can't keep up with, okay? And I'm telling you, though, whatever, they're going to save you so much money more than likely, okay? That $500, $1,000 you pay them is like a joke. It's literally like a joke. If you're making this type of money, you're making 150K, 200K, 300K, 400K a year, because they're going to likely save you at least a few thousand on your taxes, or tens of thousands that you didn't even know existed. Like literally, when we sat down and did the taxes, like there were things that she told me about that I was like, what? That's it. And I try to keep up with the tax code and all the changes and whatnot. There were things she let me know, like, oh yeah, this is a write-off here. Oh, there's this thing here. Oh, there's this new deduction. I'm like, what? I had no clue about this type of stuff. So that is something to keep in mind. And then also, here's the thing. Let's say you own your own business and you're like a sole proprietor right now. A tax accountant can sit down with you and kind of explain some things like you might want to actually start an LLC, and you might want to actually file as something like an S corp instead. Okay, and you can have those actual discussions with your accountant and whatnot. Somebody that's a professional and actually knows the ins and outs of all this type of stuff. And I'm just telling you, when you start to get these amounts of money, you just just hire a professional. You can Yelp, whoever's like a great one in your area, your city, or your state you live in, and talk to those folks and have them start handling it, guys, because it's just worth it in the end. They're going to save you so much money that whatever you have to pay them out, it's literally like joke money. Like $500 or $1,000 for potential savings of thousands or tens of thousands. Like my tax bill was 5 figures less than what I thought it was going to be. Okay, 5 figures less than what I really thought it was going to be. So I'm just telling you guys, it is definitely worth it if you're.
Yeah, but you just told your fans, if you make less than $150,000, you don't need to do it. If your business makes less than 50K, which how do you know how much you made if you don't know your actual profit and loss? Well, you don't need a tax accountant. This guy's all over the freaking place, okay? Have a consistent message, loser. Anyway, that's it. More fun to come. Talk to you later.